After leaving Berners Beach in this Yorke Peninsula series of videos that we're doing, we make our way to Point Turton, where we set ourselves up for 3 nights. We drive out and have a look at the Corny Point Lighthouse, and then we travel the scenic road that heads from the lighthouse back down towards Marion Bay. We have a look at some of the very stunning beaches along that scenic coastal drive, and then as we head back to Point Turton, we have a look at Flaherty Beach. I'm Mick, and this is Sally. Together we've been caravanning Australia since the 1980s, and more recently we started to put the videos together just to show you some of what we see out there. There's a lot to see in Australia, and we hope you enjoy what we have here to show you. You can follow us on our trips via the following social media platforms. If you like the following video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. In part 2 of our Yorke Peninsula series of videos, we spend our last day at Tipperary Rocks before moving on to Barker Rocks. From Barker Rocks, we moved on to the spectacular Berners Beach, where we spent 2 nights. That was the last episode, but in part 3 we leave Berners Beach and start to make our way towards Point Turton. It was only a short trip today from Berners Beach into Point Turton, but it was dirt road all the way, and once again, like all the roads that we've been down there that are dirt, in very good condition. Only being 12 kilometres from Berners Beach into Point Turton, it didn't seem to take very long, and we were starting to turn off and head in towards a caravan park. It was a very overcast start to today, and according to the weather forecast it was supposed to improve, but let's hope it does, because Point Turton's a very pretty place when we get a bit of sunshine on that water. Yeah, good afternoon everyone, and for the first time we're in a caravan park on this Yorke Peninsula trip, and what a view we've got. We've parked up on the top so we can look down over the jetty, but we had a slow pack up this morning at Berners Beach because we couldn't book in here too early. I think the booking time's actually 2 o'clock, and we got here just after midday, so we got in luckily. So we're here for 3 nights, so let's hope that we get some nice weather. By the time we'd booked into the caravan park and got the van on site and all set up, the cloud was starting to burn off and the sun was shining. With very little or no wind on the water, it certainly makes for a beautiful picture looking at that jetty. Now that's not a bad view looking out from under the awning of the caravan back towards the jetty when it's so calm. Not really knowing what the weather was going to do, as soon as the sun started to shine we put the drone up in the sky and had an elevated view down across the caravan park and the jetty, and it was very nice to look at. It's a well maintained caravan park, this one, and we quite often come here, or like coming here as much as what we can, but our main purpose really for coming here on this trip of course was to catch up on a bit of washing, and we can't carry enough water in the caravan to do it whilst we're free camping or low cost camping, so it's into the caravan park and use their washing facilities and get it done that way. It's a reasonably small caravan park this one, but has got $1 million views, there's no doubt about that. We had the option of within reason selecting where we wanted to put the caravan, and we were asked whether we wanted a waterfront view or back inside the park, and we took the option of taking the waterfront view up on top, and we certainly got some nice views for the days that we were there. The only thing, if you go down in the middle of the park you're certainly well sheltered from any wind if that was to come up, but of course you lose those views. In saying that you lose those views, yes, you do lose the cliff top views, but it's still a very pretty park to locate yourself in, no matter what part of the park you do select. On those cold evenings and when the weather permits, the caravan park does have this community fire pit here which they get going late in the afternoon for patrons to sit around and keep warm. There is a very well appointed camp kitchen here at the caravan park, and that's got everything that you would need. And back towards the fire pit has got a very big wide open roll down, pull up blind, call it what you like, and there it is there in view now. And that can be opened up and look out across towards the fire pit. As you drive through the caravan park, you come up to all these cabins, and they certainly have got a $1 million view, these fellas. They're right up on top of the cliff, and you're looking out over the ocean as soon as you walk out onto the balcony of each cabin. I think any caravan park owner would be envious of another caravan park that's got water views like this out in front of their cabins. It's certainly something that a lot of people would be looking for. And right in the middle of all these cabins, as the road turns around on a bit of a bend, you've got this lawned area here with an outside barbecue, and that would be great, having a group there with a bit of a barbecue session looking out over the water. On the next level up from the cabins that are right on the water's edge are these, I'm going to call them luxurious cabins, luxury cabins, and there's not very many of them, but they've certainly got the luxury that anyone would ever want. And then once again in behind those cabins there's a series of lawn caravan sites here. Now I assume, but I don't really know, but I'm going to say I assume that they use these as a bit of an overflow, or unless anyone particularly wants to go up there, but no one using them whilst we were there in the park. For the 3 days that we were here at this caravan park, we were very lucky with the first 2 days. The day that we arrived and the following one being very great days weather-wise. It was only on the 3rd day that we had a bit of rain and a lot of strong wind, but the water here, when you do get it with the sun out and no wind, certainly makes it very pretty to look at. The jetty here at Point Turton is supposed to be a good jetty for fishing, although there wasn't too many people out fishing during our stay here, and of course it's a great jetty for swimmers alike. There are a number of resident stingrays that stay around this jetty. I don't know whether it's because it was high tide at the times that we were down there looking at the water. We didn't see them during our visit, but we have seen them on previous visits. The afternoon was slowly moving towards that golden hour period, and you could never get sick of views like this as you look out past the side of the caravan. As the afternoon faded away and the light started to dim into that evening sunset period, there wasn't enough cloud in the sky to give us a beautiful sunset like we were hoping for, but it gave us this golden glow in the western sky, and it was the best we were going to get for tonight. After thinking, well, that's the best we're going to get, you walk away and you turn your back and then you slowly watch it, and then it just becomes more orange and golden as the evening progressed. I took a quick walk in the cold, and it was cold that night, up onto the top section above the cabins and looked out towards the west, and this is what I come up with, and I thought, well, that was well worth putting up with the cold. Without fail, sunrise follows sunset, and this is what we had looking out over the jetty the following morning. Yeah, good morning everyone. We've woken this morning, bit of breeze, not a cloud in the sky, so hopefully we'll get that nice day that's on the forecast. We're going to go for a bit of a drive today. We'll go over to Corny Point and have a look at the lighthouse over there, and then on our way back we'll just go down to Flaherty Beach here and see what that one's like, so come along for the ride. We left Point Turton this morning with the weather forecast being the best that has been forecasted since we left home. I think most of the day was supposed to be blue skies and very little wind, so we were hoping to find some nice coastal spots as we went down there and check out a few of the camping locations, because later on in the week it was our intention to come back with the caravan and find a few camp spots down there that we could spend a few extra nights at. As we make our way along today, we'll show the map and break the map up into pieces for where we are, and that way you'll know what locations we're actually looking at when we stop and film. Our first destination for the day was Corny Point Lighthouse, and here we are now going into Corny Point itself. And once we leave Corny Point is where we leave the bitumen, and for the remainder of the time it's all dirt road. But like every bit of dirt road that we've been on down here on this trip, they're all well maintained roads and no issues with them at all. As we turn off the scenic route road here, we make our way into the Corny Point Lighthouse. As we drive towards the lighthouse, we elect here to keep going to the left, and that'll take us down to the lighthouse. The road there to the right, that'll take you down to a small parking bay which overlooks the beach area. There is an information board here to the left of the lighthouse. It tells you all about the lighthouse, and if you want to read it you can pause the video and read it and then continue on with the video afterwards. As we camped our way around the Yorke Peninsula on this trip, everywhere that we went there were signs saying about how they were trying to maintain the sand dunes and prevent erosion and the likes, and for people to not walk on the sand dunes. But there was walking paths everywhere around the Corny Lighthouse, and we don't know whether they were there to be used or whether it's just where people were going and they shouldn't be going, but there was no signs to say not to. So we took the opportunity like most others, I guess, and we had a good walk around here. There's a lot of walking tracks that you can take and certainly some great views to be had. Like any coastal area, when you go and visit these sort of places, when you can get there when the sun's shining and there's no real strong winds, it's such an enjoyment to be there and a pretty sight to cherish, and certainly much better than if it was a dark cloudy day and you didn't have those bright blue waters and green grassy paddocks that followed around. Both parking areas at the Corny Point Lighthouse were a bit small for a car and a caravan to come into, but there is a parking area further out just before you turn off the tourist road, and if you happen to miss that, like this one did here, there is enough room to do a 6-point turn, I guess, and turn it round and get out if you're careful, but ideally don't bring your van in. With the green grass and the yellow canola surrounded by the blue water, what a magic picture. After leaving the Corny Point Lighthouse, we made our way along the tourist drive until we got down to a beach area that's called Biddy Bay. As much as what it is amazing, it's a very pretty section of coast, this one. One minute you're in a rocky area like we were at Corny Point, and that's not very far back to the lighthouse from here, and then you come up to Biddy Bay and you look down onto the water and you got all this lovely sand area. From where we're standing at the moment, it's fairly high up above the water level, so of course there's these steps here that take you down to the beach. Now it's not just a series of steps that go straight down. What they've done, they've got a number of steps that do go straight down, and when you go down you then hit a ramp. So they use a ramp to alleviate or eliminate some of the steps, I guess, and it makes it more comfortable to walk down, and particularly when you've got to climb back up. Once down at the bottom of the steps to the sand, you've got this pure clean sand straight onto the water. Gentleman here trying to catch a fish, and when I spoke to him, he wasn't worried whether he caught a fish or not. He was just enjoying the scenery and the pleasure of being where he was. From Biddy Bay, we made our way onto Point Annie. Very pretty driving down to the lookout on this one. Certainly something that you wouldn't want your brakes to fail as you're going down there, or you might finish up getting a wet motor car, but very pretty on the day. Once again, the beach has changed from beautiful white sand onto these rocks again, so forever changing as we're going down along the coast. From Point Annie, we made our way to the next campground, which was Swincer Campground, and we had a look at some of the camping area there to see if it was something that we may want to come down and enjoy one time. The Swincer Rocks campground isn't a big campground by any means, and it's certainly something that if you're towing a caravan like we would be, you would want to get out and check where you're going to go before you actually turned around on these little tight roads within the campground and made your way to the next camping spot there, but certainly a nice location. From the Swincer Rocks campground, we headed back to the Bitumen Road, where we then continued on towards Marion Bay, and it was a short drive after that we did the right hand turn here to start to make our way down to Gleeson's Landing. It wasn't very far from the Bitumen Road into Gleeson's Landing campground, and of course all dirt road, no bitumen. Gleeson's Landing was one campground that we wanted to stop at during this trip while we're down on the Yorke Peninsula. So we certainly wanted to go in and have a look around and just see if we could find a reasonably good camp spot that we could pull up and set ourselves up for 1 or 2 days. The campground was quite big. It was certainly a reasonable drive from when we first went in to when we got around to where we are now. And unfortunately where we are now is really open to the elements, and it was hard ground, not much grass, so it didn't appeal to us, at least not where we were at the moment. As we were driving back out of the campground, we made our way round to this area here, and we thought, yeah, we could probably set ourselves up in this one, and it wasn't too bad at all. Bit of green grass, bit of soft sandy area. It was much better than that hard rocky area that we were at before. From Gleeson's Landing, it was only a short drive, and we're at Daly Head, and we started to have a look around there because this also was another area that we wanted to camp at. Once again, we had a choice of a left or a right hand turn, and when we got here we took the left hand turn, and it actually took us away from the camp area, not knowing that. But we found this great beach around the other side, and it was very pretty. Certainly looked like a lot of steps to get down to the beach, but we were starting to run out of time and we wanted to have a look at this campground, so after admiring what we were looking at, we were back on the road again, heading back towards what we thought was going to be the campground, or what was eventually the campground, and it was very pretty as we come here with the water in front of us. Now following the road where we actually took a left hand turn instead of taking the right hand turn, and it was only a short distance from that intersection, and it brings you straight into the campground here. We had seen this campground previously on YouTube videos where people were camping here, and you can understand, or you can see from the pretty blue water here as you're driving around, why so many people head this way in the ideal weather conditions. We stopped here and ate our lunch and admired the views, and then we started to make our way back towards Flaherty Beach. Being very mindful of the availability of fuel as we headed eventually down towards Marion Bay. Once we got back to Waruka, we stopped there and fueled up, and then continued on towards Flaherty Beach, where we left the main road and on this short, and it was only a short run from the main road, and you were soon at the beach. Following the road that took us up over the dunes, I surmise it is, and we were soon out on the beach for a bit of a look around and a drive along the beach. The beach, being winter, is covered with a lot of seaweed, as all the beaches are that we've been along on this trip. And if you can imagine this beach without all this seaweed, you can understand why it's one of the best beaches within Australia. No trip to Flaherty Beach would be a successful trip, of course, unless you took a drive on the beach itself, and that's exactly what we did today. We're certainly going to put this one on our bucket list to come back on a hot summer's day, or not necessarily a hot summer's day, but during the summer period when the beach is clean and no seaweed, because then you can really appreciate how good it would be. The water looks so clear and clean, it'd certainly make for a great swimming beach, particularly for young kids. From Flaherty Beach, it was only a short drive back into the caravan park there at Point Turton, and we watched this sunset. Not as specky as what we had hoped, but certainly the best that we've had so far. Point Turton has some wonderful sunsets that we've seen on social media, and it has some great sunrises, and here's the best sunrise that we had during our 3 days that we were there. Well, after a very nice sunrise, the weather really turned bad for us. It came up very, very windy, and the water just blew, and it wasn't very pleasant outside at all. So far on our camping trip around the Yorke Peninsula, we've got to give credit to the weatherman, because we've planned most of our trips and days outings and what we're doing around what weather was forecasted for the day. And to date, he's been pretty spot on. So even though it was such a lousy day today, we knew it was coming. Well, this brings us to the end of another video, and hope you enjoyed what we've shown you. It was certainly nice out at Corny Point Lighthouse when we're out there with the sun shining on the water. All that blue-green grass out in the paddocks certainly makes for a nice combination and good photography. Even the caravan park here at Point Turton with the jetty, it's a nice place to stop at, and very pretty once again when that sun's out and the water's blue and all the green grass. I'm actually in between two cabins here trying to get out of the weather. It's our last day today. We leave tomorrow, and we'll head over and do some another 2 free camps, or low cost camps I should say, before we move on from there. So I hope you enjoyed what we've shown you here today, or in this video, and until that next video goes up, you take care and look after yourself. We didn't expect the colour in the sky like this for today's sunset, so we've slipped it in towards the end of the video just to show you what it was like. It was quite pretty to look at, although I don't think the camera has done it full justice, but nevertheless we thought we'd put it in just to show you what we had. If you like the video that you just watched, give us a thumbs up, and if you want to see more of our videos, click on the subscribe button, and once you've done that, change the bell notification to all. That way every time that we do uploads to our YouTube channel, you'll be notified.